Hey everybody, it's John from aMTBer Products, and this is the first podcast of 2026. So, Happy New Year. It's already January 10th, and I am a bit behind in my New Year's resolutions. I really want to start a training program again, even if it's 3 days a week, just to get back into decent shape where it's really fun and not really painful. Just the whole year. I had an injury, I had some other stuff, and it when you lose it, it's really hard to motivate in 120 degree weather out here, basically. So anyway, the New Year's is a good time to start. The weather's cooled down. But having said that, my last podcast, I started out talking about the rain was coming right before Christmas, and boy, did it come. It has been a muddy mess out here the whole time. We had a couple of days of where it actually dried out, and then it just started raining again. But the real wrench in the works for my plans was on Christmas Eve, we had a tree fall down and smash the barn, and now we've got a lot of damage to deal with on top of it. So it's been a big muddy mess. Well, all right, I got a post here from Glenn. He did a little shout out about the product, saying how much he liked it and likes the customer service. And then the Loam Wolf has a new video where they mention our product in about the first 5 minutes of the podcast. I've watched the whole thing a couple times now. Really good podcast. I think they just started it, but they did name us as being one of the standouts of 2025. Let's take a listen real quick.
I'm going to go to the polar opposite end of the spectrum from you expensive high roller guys here, and I am going to say Darkmatter Chain Lube is one of the standout products for me this year.
So I think I hit the pause button correctly there. To be named one of the standouts of 2025 on his list, and the first thing he mentions is really flattered by that. I don't know if any other chain lubes will ever make a list like this. I can't imagine that they will. Just with the amount of time I put into this, I mean, we're talking about 10,000 hours of research, developing it, testing it, logging all those hours on the bike and making the adjustments. I mean, it's going to take quite an effort on somebody else's part, I would think, to get something as good as we have. Let's let him finish.
Darkmatter Chain Lube is one of the standout products for me this year. I got the product over a year ago. It was an interesting story. So I was back down home where I grew up in Thousand Oaks, California, and made a post and got a DM from some guy that says, hey, I see you're back. You're in Thousand Oaks. I live in the Valley. I'm pretty close. I make bike stuff. Could I meet you one day for a ride? I'd really like to show you this chain lube. And I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? And he had some pretty big claims. Like, dude, you will not believe this stuff. So he came out.
So yeah, that's sort of how it went. I just emailed them real quick, and he, was surprised I had an 818 number, and I said, yeah, I'm right down the street and we can meet. And so we went and did that test ride that he talked about. Talk a little further about it here.
And right there in the parking lot, they stripped, cleaned the grease lube, whatever that was on my chain.
So that would be the chain prep technique we've come up with using the chain prep formula in the white bottle. It's in our application video. We did the same exact method with him. And we did exactly the same treatment. Two quick chain prep treatments, about 5 minutes of each coat, and wiped it down, put the lube on. By the time we kitted up, he will explain how it felt within like 10 minutes of me finishing the job.
He has a cleaning product, really easy and fast to apply in the parking lot. And then he applied this wax lube he uses rubbing alcohol as a carrier, which is nice rather than other liquids. So it dries really fast. So you don't have to let it set overnight or cure or anything else. So within 20 minutes, we had the chain clean, the new lube on. And dude, I pedaled out of that parking lot, and it was a pretty surreal feeling of like, it felt like a belt drive, like it.
So that's a huge compliment. Have you ever ridden a belt drive? I've only ridden one, and it was the Revel. It was their titanium dirt jumper had a belt drive, and it was so quiet and bouncing around on that bike. There was no noise. Our chain lube does such a good job of just eliminating the feel of a chain beneath your feet. So that's great. He described it as a surreal feeling, because I don't think there's any other chain lube that can even come close to claiming that. Even wax dipping a chain does not give you that. So, and it's a lot more work to hot dip a wax chain than it is just to convert our product over. I'll leave links for all these videos in the bottom here.
The pedaling was so smooth. I started shifting gears, and to be honest, I was blown away. I came home, kind of forgot about it. It got buried in the van somewhere.
So to be blown away by a chain lube, that's I've been working with this so long now. I'm used to it, and I can feel it on other people's bikes when I ride them. I can feel how just grindy, the little vibrations. You can feel it. All of that's gone. That translates into a very fast racing chain, and because there's no vibration, no grinding, there's no chain wear. It's just, all of it goes together. It's hard to say which came first in this. We really wanted to get the chain wear down to nothing. We wanted to get the maintenance down to nothing. So, all that's achieved.
Or whatever. I found it again in the early winter of this year, I guess, or whatever, late winter this year, and started using it again and was like, dude, this stuff is really good. So I gave it to a couple of other people to try out, and they were all equally blown away. Ended up making a review of it finally, like a year later. And dude, I found out like through the guy, he said that a couple hundred people have ordered that lube in the week after we did that review. And we now have like comments on that YouTube video. He has told us that like a high percentage of people who bought the small bottles already bought like his big jug. And there's comments that are like, dude, thank you for this review. I would have never heard of this company, found this product, but this lube absolutely is amazing. So to me, that is a cheap, awesome product. And I fully believe that it is one of the best lubes out on the market.
That is such a great compliment. Yeah, I worked really hard on this. I've been racing. I started when I was 11 years old, and the chain maintenance thing it's been a desire my whole life. But even before I was a teenager, I was just a little kid racing bikes, and my dad taught me how to lube the chain when I was probably 5 years old. My first sort of real BMX bike, maybe like 5 or 6 years old, and it's been a chore since then. Been a dirty, messy process. I used to use paint thinner as a kid. I used to use WD-40, to get it cleaned. And it's expensive to do that stuff. It was a mess. Now, we've got these degreasers now that work pretty good. They still don't work as good as gasoline. Gasoline gets everything off, but then you got to get the gasoline off the chain. And to get wax to stick, you got to basically sterilize the chain after that. And if you're using a degreaser, if you have any remnants of that degreaser, that high pH degreaser, you are going to get chemical reactions with the degreaser remnants and the new chain lube. Okay? These chemical reactions are not desirable at all. And where are they occurring? They're occurring deep in the crevices of these chains where the degreaser didn't quite get everything out, and some of it's still stuck there. And basically, those chemical reactions lead to a lot of problems with the chain. I'll just leave it at that, okay? So our application method, I think, is the best. It's just putting it on like a regular chain lube. The only difference is you're going to push it in with a little brush we have made, or you can use a toothbrush. Any old toothbrush will work, and it just flows out of the bottle onto the chain, and it doesn't pass right through. So it sits there until you push it into the middle of the chain with a brush. The little blue brush works well with the Formula 1.2, with the original Formula Lube and Schleiden, and the Smooth Lube Chain Prep. But when you get into the thicker formulas like 5311, DÄRKMATTER, Uber Clear, a toothbrush works better, and our 3-headed toothbrush works very well for that. And because our website is got a default setting of low to high prices, the first thing that comes up is the SAG card on the featured products. But then when you get to the regular products down here, all products, first thing it shows is the wax tool. Okay, so it's got a bend in it to accommodate your hand being away from the chain as the chain passes through, and 3 heads together there, you can see, holds the chain, pushes it into the side plates, and pushes it into the middle of the chain. Very little waste this way, by the way, and anything left on the brush you get to reuse. It will reliquify upon application of the next bit of chain lube you add of ours. Our chain lube reliquefies itself, so anything in the brushes is not going to waste. Now, everything else you buy on the market, you usually use a rag, and that stuff on the rag never sees the light of day on your chain again. It just becomes part of the dirty rag. There's no waste with this product if you really think about it. So everything on the brush gets reused, and the product goes a long way. So because they're priced low to high with the clean lubes next, and the guitar string formula, the SAG card, then the tool lube. Now here's the chain prep formula. We have the word chain prep formula across the top there now, until we can get some new stickers made. And here's the original formula, 1.2. There's the 5311. That's our road bike race formula and mountain bike race formula. And then here's the 2 e-bike formulas, DÄRKMATTER and Uber Clear. Now, a lot of people ask me, I have an e-bike, dusty conditions, what's the best combo? I think the 5311 DÄRKMATTER 5311 combo is the best for dusty conditions, and for wet, muddy conditions, this would be the best combo. DÄRKMATTER, Uber Clear. The Uber Clear is like 5311, super heavy-duty version of 5311. It's a lot thicker and waxier. It'll repel the dust a little bit, the mud a little bit better, and they both do really well with water. But that question comes up a lot. So I think if you've got mostly dusty conditions with some wet, this is the best combination right there. If you can see both of these on the screen at the same time. And then muddy e-bike conditions, this is the best combo. Severe mud, okay? And this will require you keeping these bottles warm. All 3 of these need to stay warm, and learn the brush technique to get great results right away. So why I think this stuff works for most people is the price. I've got chain lubes from $12 to $20 right now, and it's very affordable. You don't have to set up an area in your house or garage to do anything. This is just on the bike. You never take the chain off the bike ever to use this product. Theoretically, brand new chain goes on your bike, whether you bought the bike, chain installed, or whatever the situation. You never have to take the chain off, which is huge. It's much safer to never break those links and reattach them. They will fail at some point doing that over and over. And if you ride every week, and you do it every week, after a year, you've taken that chain off and off 52 times. So that link is highly compromised. Even if you buy new links, what is the cost of, best case scenario is you're replacing the link every ride. That's 52 links times $5. That's $250 plus, okay? So, you can get some cheap ones. I used to buy like a 10-pack of them online. They still weren't cheap. They were still about $2 or $3 each. And I don't even know what today's prices are. But looking at my notes here, I'm talking about time versus convenience, and that's why this works for most people. It's very convenient, and the end results of a wax dip chain versus our bottle formula, okay, our liquid at room temperature formula. I'm telling you, you're not getting any better results with a wax dip chain. I've used many formulas in the crock pot, over the years, and they just, even the testimonies I get from people who use the top hot wax dip products, they're not getting great results either. They're maybe getting 150 miles before they start to notice the drop off in performance, and that's about where ours is at. I mean, for a hardcore rider with a lot of power going through the pedals in the dirt, 150 miles is about what you should expect if you're applying it correctly and often. But you can get more depending on your riding conditions. Most of these roadies that are talking about this they're on the road, so they're not even in harsh conditions compared to a mountain bike or even a gravel bike. So, I would say you can get close to 200 miles on an application once it's established in your chain after a few applications of any of the products. The particles that stick and become part of the chain, like a seasoned cast iron pan, that's what gives you the longevity as well as the wax formula. So we're getting as good of results as any crockpot dipped wax chain, but then we do have the extra stuff in there that I can't really talk about. It says here, the end results, wax dip versus a bottle formula. This is my notes here I'm reading. It's either the same or ours is better. And you get your time back. So there it is. One of the next things I wrote down for this podcast is it's so clean you won't believe it. And Loam Wolf mentioned that, Drew mentioned that he remembers me saying something like, you're not going to believe this product, you're not going to believe how good it is. And I've yet to really hear anybody else say something like that about their chain formula. The crockpot stuff is a big commitment, time-wise, and it is very costly. Now, I don't know how many chains you can get out of a pound of wax they sell you for $50, but let's say you get 30. It's still $50 for 30 rides. That's about $2 an application almost. I mean, ours is in the pennies. Ours is the 53. Let's see, the 1.2 formula at $15, 30 rides. You're at about 50 cents. Let me think. Is that correct? It's about 30 cents a ride is what I figured out a while ago when I was getting about 30 applications out of my bottles. Sometimes more, sometimes closer to 40. So you're getting a lot of value there. It's costing you about a quarter, 30 cents, maybe 35 cents an application for these ones here in the background. And then it's a little bit more for the other ones. So part of my notes say it actually works without the mess or the hassle. Probably works better than what you're using now, no matter what you're using. And is this the world's greatest chain lube? Well, I do think so, and many of my customers think so. It just takes a little bit of a tweak in your application method. You're probably used to dripping it on and wiping it off the rag. None of that goes on anymore. You just drip it on, push it in, let it dry, go ride 10 minutes later, 15 minutes. So I think I'll start to wrap it up here. Our rain is gone now, and I'm hoping to get back out there this week once things are pretty much dried out. But now we've got the 70-mile-an-hour winds here. So I went from rain and mud, pretty much one day off, and then right to these crazy winds. So I hope you guys start the new year out right. Get on your bike, ride, have a good New Year's resolution plan to stay fit this year. That's the top of my list, as well as get this business up and to the next level. But so as usual, I'm pressed for time. It's already getting late in the day, and I've got a few things to do here. And well, thanks for all your orders. All the new customers from the latest Loam Wolf podcast. That's fantastic, and your guys' stuff will be shipping today and tomorrow. So anyhow, this is the Chainwax Podcast number 19. Can't believe I've done 19 of these so far. And we'll leave it here with the image of the e-bike formulas. And remember, you can use the 5311 as well as the supplement. Okay. thanks so much. There's so much I want to talk about. I think the next podcast we'll talk a little about the SAG card and just showing you all the different little features it has. I was going to try to squeeze that in, but just running out of time. So I'm going to paste these together. Hopefully this will be a listenable podcast. And thanks so much, guys. The links to the T-shirts will be in the description and maybe the first comment or something like that. And, if you can, I'm just putting them up for the price they actually cost me. I think it's about $16. It's pretty low for a really good quality T-shirt if you want to wear our logo and help promote our product. So that stuff helps us out tremendously. Once the people on the trail see your chain at the end of the ride and ask, how did you get a chain to stay that clean when mine looks like this, you'll show them the product, and that's been the best advertisement so far. Okay, guys, thanks a lot. Talk soon.